Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mandy, the handmade homeschooler, and today we're going to be talking about options that you can do when the curriculum runs out before your school year is over. And basically 3 different ways of how I handle that. But before I do that, let me remind you that we have a free Facebook group down below in the description box for homeschooling parents or parents thinking about homeschooling. And that is free to you, and there's about 3,000 of us in there. If you guys have any questions about curriculum or what to do to get started homeschooling, that's a great place to begin. So this happens a lot of times with elective subjects, and basically every curriculum has a specific length of time that they have for what they call a school year. Sometimes that could be 28 weeks, sometimes it could be 36. Now, your state is going to have specific requirements of how many days that you need to do school. And it just so happens that sometimes your curriculum will end before you fill out that whole school year. So a lot of times people wonder, should I buy brand new curriculum to fill in that gap? That can be very, very expensive, and it's not really a good option. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of different options and how we're handling it, because a couple of our subjects are just about to run out or already have run out, and we have still about 2 months of school until what our school year ending is going to be. So let's go ahead and look at some of these options. So one of the first things that you can do, and you need to do this at the beginning of the year, is you need to plan out how long your school year is and how many weeks you have with that specific curriculum. If it is not enough to fill out the entire year, the option that I'm going to give you is to do that subject only 2 or 3 days a week, or you can even do 4 days a week. But just taking out even 1 or 2 days a week can stretch that up to 4 to 6 extra weeks if you buy your time right. So being able to do that and to be able to plan that out is going to save you a headache by the time you get to spring and you realize, oh no, I only have like 1 week left. So you can actually have a lot of flexibility when you are organized about it. Now, I have been very guilty of not doing that and totally forgetting that some of those curriculum and some of those extra subjects only have, 20 to 24 weeks, and I need to stretch that out. So definitely being able to stretch out the other subjects is a helpful thing to do at the beginning of the year. So number 2 is one that I utilize almost every single year, and that is IXL. So IXL is a program that I learned about when I was teaching and when my oldest was in elementary school. It is a secular program that's about $9 a month online. It's a subscription type of service, and we usually do this every single year for math, because math, my kids love doing, subjects on the computer, and my youngest especially really likes math. So he does not like to do it 2 to 4 days a week. He actually likes to do his every day, and his is about to run out. So what we're going to do is we're going to sign up for an IXL subscription for a couple of months, and he's going to do math on that computer. And with IXL, it has everything for each grade. So IXL is an online program for K through 12. It's used for supplemental, it's used for test prep, and it's used even as like an actual classroom type of thing that a lot of public schools use. And this is a huge tool for public schoolers, but as homeschoolers, it's one of those things that we can actually use to either fill in some gaps and holes, or we can use as a supplemental type of curriculum. Now, I don't suggest using IXL as an actual curriculum because it does not teach. So it's not like IXL with math, like you're going to get the lesson of how to do it and then the kids are going to do the actual problems. It doesn't teach, it only gives the actual math problems when we're talking about math. But if you're doing the grade that your child is already in and they've completed their entire math course, then they should be familiar with most, if not all, concepts that they're going to run into. Now, IXL used to be just math, but they've actually expanded and they have social studies and science, and they have different subjects now, which is really neat. You're going to pay an additional fee for each subject that you want to tack on, but it's great to fill in, a couple of months if you need it in there too. we also use it because in North Carolina, we have to have a test at the end of the year. And it's a great tool for us to use for test prep to kind of get my kids ready to take that end of year exam and just to kind of keep it on file. Both of my kids say that they feel like it kind of helps prep them, in advance, and they feel better equipped to take the test. So it's definitely something that is worth the $10 a month in my household to go ahead and do before we take the test. So looking at their website, IXL now offers, as of 2022, math, language arts, science, social studies, and Spanish. So it's cool that they actually have a foreign language in there too. They do have an app, although we only use it on the actual laptop and my kids just take turns with it. Now, my youngest, he's about ready to end his time with teaching textbooks for the year, so probably next week I will be signing him up for an IXL account, and he will be doing math, and any other subjects that he runs out, he'll probably pick up there too. But for right now, we're just going to be using it mainly for math. Now, the third option is one that I honestly like the best, and that is making your own study. Now, the way to do this is, it sounds way more complicated than it actually is, and I'm going to kind of guide you through this. So my oldest ended his biblical curriculum about 2 weeks ago, and we needed to find something for him to do for the rest of the year. Now he's on a yearly Bible reading plan, where they'll read the whole Bible within a year. And I'm reading that same plan, and my youngest is starting the same plan too. So actually all three of us will be reading the same ones, and then that way we can talk about it and things like that. Now, as far as study, I've been getting books because my oldest is in high school. So I want to introduce him to more biblical theology and things that are on a higher level of thinking than many of the lower level curriculums out there. So I've been on an R.C. Sproul kick lately, and I just happen to have a lot of his books around, and one of the ones that I picked up from our church library is R.C. Sproul's What is Reformed Theology? Now, this is a pretty meaty book, and it has 10 chapters in it, but each chapter is pretty thick, and it has a lot of concepts in each chapter. So what I'm doing is I am reading ahead of him, and I'm making my own questions and answers on the computer, and I'm printing those out, and I'm assigning him certain pages to read, and then he's going to do the reading. We're going to discuss it, and then he does the questions and answers, and we, talk about any concepts, anything that he maybe wasn't sure if he understood or not, and then, we all kind of have like a discussion about it. This seems to be working out really well. I don't have to spend extra money for another Bible curriculum, and he is reading good sources. So to do this, you're going to have to actually read whatever the material is ahead of time. To do this, it only takes me about 15 minutes. But I have to make sure that I do this and I have it done in advance for him to be able to do the following day. So I'm not actually going to be making any tests, but if I were going to make this to be a test grade, he already has his grade for the actual year, so I don't need to make him any tests. But for those of you who want to make tests out of this, it's actually pretty easy. What I would suggest doing, depending on the grade and age of your child, is I would take questions from the questions that you already created and make a test out of those. So this one has 10 chapters. If I were to make a test, I would take all the worksheets from all 10 chapters that he did, and I would pick out probably 20 questions, and I would put that into its own document, and I would have an answer sheet, and I would have him do that. Or you could assign even a report that they would have to write on the book, and you can make the question as hard or as easy as you want, and it can go as in-depth as you want. And they would have to write an essay type answer to that question, and that would equal 20 points or something, and then add in however many points, up to 100 of extra questions for them to answer. It sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is, but I promise you this is so much easier and so much cheaper than actually buying curriculum, and you probably already have good books around your house where you can do this with. So This can also be a great way to get extra credit in if they need like an extra language arts credit or something. You could get any book from, you know, Heidi to Black Beauty and do the same thing. Make your own questions and answers and have them do a book report or something like that. And that can be like an extra letter grade that they can get to help improve their grade. So it's simple, it's easy, and you're not gonna have to buy another curriculum. All right, so those are my 3 ways to help stretch your curriculum or to do a supplemental curriculum when the school year is going longer than your curriculum is. So hopefully that gives you guys some great ideas of what you can do at the tail end of the year, because we're coming up on that time, and I know everybody kind of, if you're like me and you're eclectic and you have different brands of curriculum for each subject, because I like to be complicated like that. If you're like me, then everything ends at a different time. So, you know, my math is going to end first, and then my language arts is going to end, and it's going to be all over the place for probably the next couple of months. So these are some great ways that you can do supplemental things without having to go out and buy a whole new curriculum or start next year's curriculum early, and you can save that for when you actually start the brand new year. So hopefully that gave you guys some great ideas, and let me know down below, what do you do when your curriculum ends? Do you just not do the subject the rest of the year, or do you do something to supplement in between? I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and happy homeschooling.